Hello and welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast, part of the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Tyler, and I am back, folks, on the podcast for the first time in what feels like forever. I don't even know the last episode I was on here. Huge shout out to Jesse and Eli for really carrying everything the last month or even two, I think. I was just dealing with a lot of stuff going on, nothing bad personally, but just busy, busy, busy. And I just couldn't find time to record, unfortunately. And Eli and Jesse were awesome about it and stepped up and really, carried us pretty much since the start of the new year. So huge shout out to those guys. Really appreciate it. I am back now, and I should be on here, regularly, hopefully once every week or two for the rest of, for the start of the season. The Orioles season starts as I record this tomorrow. I think I'm going to try to get this out for the evening drive home time frame on Wednesday. So hopefully you're listening to it then. But yeah, the Orioles season starts tomorrow. Jesse, Eli, and I will be joining up tonight to record a preseason prediction pod that will be out tomorrow, sometime before first pitch, hopefully around, at least you can listen to it at some point prior to the 3 p.m. first pitch. So, if you like what you hear in this episode, you like what we do here, please subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube. We're on YouTube. There's a video version. You can look at me. If you're on YouTube now, I'm waving to you. I'm sharing my screen of things I'm going to talk about. So check us out over there. And subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. It doesn't have to be Spotify. It can be anywhere. We really, really appreciate it. And we're looking to make 2026 a big year. I think the Orioles are going to be pretty good this year, which I'll talk about more in the next episode where we preview the season. But I'm excited about the season ahead. So get involved now. Let's keep the good vibes going. And yeah, let's talk about the Orioles. So I'm kind of doing the last of these preview episodes. Eli and Jesse have already covered first base and the outfield and the starting pitching. I'm going to talk about the rest of the infield, so second base, shortstop, third base. We kind of ran out of time to do these individual spots, so just do a whole episode to second base, whole episode to shortstop, whole episode to third base. So we're going to cram them all in here. And I think this to me might be like the most interesting part of the team because I think for me, it's like going to make or break the season in a way. Whereas I think the outfield for me is like laying a base of competency. Like if the outfield can be like about league average across the board, maybe a little bit better, the Orioles will be in a good spot. I think Pete Alonso is basically guaranteed to be like a top five-ish type of first baseman in terms of overall production offensively. Um, I think that's kind of locked in as long as he's healthy. He's going to give you your 30 to 40 home runs, play not very good defense, but he's going to post every day. He's going to be there. And then the pitching staff. I think the pitching staff is in a position to be pretty solid. Obviously, if Bradish is healthy, Rogers is healthy, I think they could be a fringy top 10 kind of unit. If one of them goes down, maybe more like middle of the pack, which I think is still acceptable. And then it's this second base, third base, shortstop area where I think the Orioles really need to figure some stuff out. And obviously, they go into the season with a lot of question marks that I don't think they thought they were going to be having. I think coming into spring training prior to the injury news, we thought we had a certain setup at these three positions to be sort of like a core of the team to sort of spring them towards success this year. And instead, we're going into the year with a couple of question marks here. So we'll get into that here in just a second. I think first, because it's kind of breaking news as I record this, the Orioles did announce their opening day roster. You can look at it, go to the Orioles Twitter or social media, Instagram, anywhere. It'll be there. You can take a look at it. I won't dig through it too deep, but I just want to talk about the infielders that made the team. Really, no big surprises here. Obviously, Pete Alonso is the first baseman. Ryan Mountcastle makes it as your backup first baseman slash DH slash we'll see what else they do with him. At second base, it looks like it's going to be Blaze Alexander's job for the most part, but Jeremiah Jackson also makes the team to be in the mix there. I think second base, third base, potentially some corner outfield spot for Jeremiah Jackson. But again, I don't think either one of those is too much of a surprise because Brian Ramos was actually DFA'd earlier in the week, and that kind of cleared the path for Jeremiah Jackson to make the team. We knew Alexander would make it, big trade just before spring training. Jeremiah Jackson has options, had a good spring, was impressive, I think, at the plate at the end of last year. He makes the team as something of a utility infielder, which is something the Orioles don't exactly have now in this setup, which I can talk about in just a second. Kobe Mayo is going to be your third baseman. Again, no surprise there given the injury to Jordan Westburg, which we know he's going to miss at least April, some part of May probably. Not a surprise there. And then, of course, Gunnar Henderson, your MVP candidate, looked really good for the Team USA at the World Baseball Classic when he played. I think the Orioles, for them to reach their absolute top potential this year, he needs to be really, really good. I think he needs to hit more home runs, needs to stay healthy, needs to play. I mean, he was pretty healthy last year. Obviously, missed the beginning of the season with the side issue, which he explained kind of hampered him throughout the year, and it doesn't seem like it's hampering him now. Showed a lot of power with Team USA. Showed well in spring training when he could play. The numbers are a little weird for him this spring because he was not really in the team. He was with Team USA, whatever. But Gunnar, he's going to be there. He's going to be productive. He's going to be fantastic. So really no big surprises there because we know Jackson Holliday is going to miss at least a little bit of time with his hamate bone. He is taking live BP, so that's exciting. And then Jordan Westburg is a bit more of the question mark. We know he's got the elbow issue that if he was a pitcher, he'd probably be getting Tommy John surgery or at least be getting shut down for a longer amount of time. Because he's a hitter, we have sort of a comp to this with Aaron Judge last year. They were able to kind of hide Judge. He played some outfield, but wasn't really throwing the ball. That's tougher for Westburg as a third baseman. He's going to need to throw the ball, and he's going to need to throw the ball hard. So we'll see about that. At least could get in the DH mix, which is now a little bit filled. We know Samuel Basallo is going to play there a lot. Tyler O'Neill likely will get some at bats there. Ryan Mountcastle, Pete Alonso will occasionally go there. So I don't love the idea of Jordan Westburg coming back and being really a DH of any significance. Like he needs to play the field if he's going to be on the team. Obviously, if he's going to be healthy, he needs to be in the mix there versus playing DH. So we'll see there. But this is going to be, like I said, we're going to focus on second base, third base, and shortstop in this. So let's talk about this. I'm not going to try to make this episode too long because I'm sure your podcast feed is filled up with preview stuff right now. So just kind of get in and get out pretty quickly. Let's start at second base. And all these numbers I'm going to talk about are coming from Fangraphs. They did power rankings for each of the positions a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. They've been doing them recently. And these do have the injuries into consideration for Holliday and for Westburg. So understand that these are going based off of what the Orioles are publicly saying, which is to say that they're going to miss some time for Holliday. That's like maybe a week or two. For Westburg, that's a month. Those should be factored into these numbers. At least that's my understanding of it. So let's talk about second base. First of all, Jackson Holliday. They have the Orioles ranked as the seventh best second base situation in Major League Baseball. I will say that second base is a weaker position group in Major League Baseball this year. And I say that because I think, was it last year? Jackson Holliday, if you had said in June, he was like a reasonable all-star candidate at second base in the American League, I would have said, yeah, that's probably right. Now you look at his season end numbers, they're not incredible. He didn't hit great. I think he regressed a good amount in the second half, so his numbers in the first half were better. But the position's not super deep in the big leagues right now. There's just not those elite talents that we have at shortstop and third base. So take that into consideration. But it does project Jackson Holliday to bat 249 with a 331 on base and a 403 slugging, making him worth 2 F WAR overall, which is, above average. That's a starter on a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. Again, second base starter on most teams in Major League Baseball. And they do expect Jackson Holliday to be the primary second baseman for the Baltimore Orioles in 2026. My expectation with Holliday is that when he does come back, he is going to take a step forward. Now, the caveat with that and this hamate bone is it sounds like power is sort of the last thing to come back here. Teams struggle, or players have struggled to get that power back. And Holliday did tie for the team lead last year with 17 home runs. So that is something of significance to look out for with Holliday. But ultimately, I think what the Orioles want Holliday to be is a top of the order hitter, a good defender, a threat on the base paths, and he can do all of those things with a hamate bone that he is still recovering from. Thankfully, this didn't happen in the middle of the season. He found out about it early February, has been rehabbing it all spring. And it doesn't seem like the Orioles really have to rush him right now because they also have Blaze Alexander in the mix, Jeremiah Jackson in the mix, that my expectation is that those two will, they'll play the hot hand there. Craig Alvarez is going to, I don't think he's going to say Alexander's the guy or Jackson's the guy. They're going to go back and forth a little bit in these couple of weeks without Jackson Holliday and see what sticks. And I think defense is going to be important here. So that's why I give the edge to Alexander and why Fangraph seems to give the edge to Alexander as well. Jeremiah Jackson, for all the positive things he did at the plate, I think defense was a bit questionable. They kind of hid him in the outfield. That wasn't always great. And when he did play the infield, it didn't look fantastic. So I don't think they love him there, but I think they do like his bat and like his bat better than Alexander's. And if you look at these numbers, Alexander is projected to hit as a second baseman, 232 with a 314 on base and a 365 slug, whereas Jeremiah Jackson is projected to hit 244 with a 284 on base and a 411 slug. So better on base for Alexander, better slug for Jackson. You can kind of see there's not a lot of space there. And then the fielding numbers, they do show Alexander's a bit of a better fielder, what they expect him to be, whereas Jackson is slightly below average there, which I think feels about right. On the fielding note, they do have Jackson Holliday here as a well below average fielder here and a below average base runner, which are two things he needs to figure out this year. He's, going in his third season here. This is where you need to start to kind of turn the corner a little bit. Is he ever going to be like the Gunnar Henderson level of performer? Probably not. It doesn't feel like it's trending that way, but I think he has shown maturity in certain ways. Craig Albanez has preached time and time again, fundamentals, fundamentals, fundamentals. Let's get these things down and go from there. Whereas it feels like the Orioles kind of lost the plot there a little bit last year with the defense. And I will say the defense is something that, if you listen to people talking about the team, the defense has them worried a little bit. It's, they don't have any guys that are clearly above average gloves really anywhere on the field. I think Colton Cowser can be that in center. I think Dylan Beavers can be that in one of the corner outfield spots. Jordan Westburg, when he's healthy, is that at third base. Ryan Mountcastle at first base is, but we know now Pete Alonso is going to be playing first. We know Kobe Mayo is going to be playing third. Defense could be a bit of an issue for them. So I think Jackson Holliday is a guy that has the physical skills to be a much better defender than he has shown to this point. And I expect with fresh eyes on him, a new way of doing things with Albarnez and his staff, that Jackson Holliday could take a step forward because I think there's a good amount of pressure on him. Obviously, when he comes back, he's not going to be the leadoff hitter for this team. He was the main leadoff hitter for them last year. It didn't go great. The numbers aren't telling you that he should be the leadoff hitter now. I think he probably goes to the bottom third of the order when he does come back. But in an ideal world, the Orioles want him to be their leadoff hitter most days, allowing Gunnar Henderson to hit second, drive in some runs, have a speedy guy in Holliday on the base paths. That is like the dream scenario that just has not come out just yet. Other guys in the mix, Tyro Estrada's here, but he was just released, and then Weston Wilson, who did not make the team, so I wouldn't really even think about those. Jordan Westburg is another name they have here is playing some second base. This could be an interesting thing because if they don't want him throwing the ball too much, or they want him throwing it as little as possible, second base could be an option for him because it's a shorter throw. If you get to the ball quickly enough, you can kind of lob it over there. You don't have to put a ton of spice on it. Whereas at third base, a lot of the time, you need to chuck it over across the diamond, and Westburg might not be in a position to do that. So it'd be interesting to see when Westburg does come back, what they do at the position. And I think a lot of it's going to depend on who is performing. If Kobe Mayo is playing well at third, why take him out of the order? If Holliday's struggling, give Westburg some chances at second base. That could be an interesting aspect. They do expect Westburg to get 126 plate appearances at second base. That gives you, maybe 30 games at the position. 262 average, 317 on base, and a 468 slugging. So as far as like, performance per plate appearance, certainly the best numbers here. The 468 slug really standing out there. And they have him as worth 0.8 FWAR, which again, over 30 games, pretty good. If you multiply that by 5, give you 150 games, that's a guy that's worth, 4 WAR. You take that 4.5 WAR. That's you take that, or no, it's 4 exactly. You take that. Obviously, it's a really really good numbers there. But will he be healthy enough? How much will he play the field? I think those are all questions to ask. Moving on over to third base, which these numbers are interesting as well because again, Westburg factors in significantly here. They have him playing 200 or getting 259 plate appearances, which again, that's maybe 80 games, right? 80 times 3, or yeah, about 80 games at the position. So 80 plus 30 at second, 110 games. That feels about right. Maybe a little bit less than that. We'll see. But again, 262 average, 317 on base, and a 468 slug. The same numbers, I believe, that he had at second, just moved to third base for a larger portion. So nothing really changes there. But again, worth 1.7 FWAR there. So 1.7 plus 0.8, that's 2.5 WAR for a guy that's only playing about 100 games in a season. That's pretty good. Those are pretty good numbers for somebody that you're missing out and is basically projecting to be like a 4 WAR type of player, which look, we know Jordan Westburg is a former All-Star. He has that in his locker, and defensively, certainly the best option the Orioles have at the position when Kobe Mayo, Jeremiah Jackson, Blaze Alexander are the other options here. Westburg, I think when he's healthy and plays, is a Gold Glove type of talent. At the hot corner, it's just he's got to get in there, and it's going to be something that even when he does come back, you're going to worry: is it a ticking time bomb situation? We know that Aaron Judge was able to come back and play with the elbow issue. I'm not sure, the specifics of like the exact injury, but that was near the end of the season. He was able to take some time off, come back, play in the playoffs, and then get, whatever handled over the offseason. Westberg has it happening before the season even starts and is going to have to nurse it throughout the summer. It's a tougher situation, so we'll have to see there. But obviously, if Westberg's healthy and his elbow can take it, I think you put him at third base and see what happens because he does give you, in my opinion, the best chance to win. What we're going to see though is a lot of Kobe Mayo at third base, at least in April and May. Was really good in the spring, and this is a big season for Kobe Mayo because I think coming into the season in the off season, Mayo to me, I think a lot of people in the fan base, myself included, kind of wrote him off as, um, it hasn't really worked just yet. He had a good September, but then you talk about the quality of opponent, a lot of September call up type stuff, and how real are those numbers? Well, he looked really good this spring, crushing the ball, not striking out a ton. Defensively, it's tougher to say because I wasn't watching every game. You can't as easily see those numbers with spring training, but the bat looked really, really good. And look, this was a guy that was a legitimate top prospect for a couple of years. He didn't forget how to hit the baseball. So if he's figured something out there, something has clicked again, got fresh eyes on him from Craig Albernes and the new staff, there's new hitting staff at the big league level. I think a lot of things could improve there, and Kobe Mayo could be like Exhibit A of turning over a new leaf and getting that sort of um, I don't know, environment without having to leave your team because you get a new manager, new hitting coaches, all that type of stuff. And Mayo, I think, needed that, yeah, more than anybody else. Him along with Holliday, I think, needed a fresh perspective. So I'm excited to see what Kobe Mayo does. Defensively, there are questions, right? The team had been moving him over to first base some. They signed Pete Alonso, kind of blocks him there. So you think, what's the plan for Kobe Mayo? Let's maybe package him with somebody else to get that ace type player. They don't do it. And it ends up being a good thing that they didn't because now you have Kobe Mayo to play third base while Jordan Westbrook rests up. And I think while maybe Jeremiah Jackson right now, I think you could depend on a little bit more for the bat to be like fine. Kobe Mayo clearly has the bigger ceiling, the power potential to be an all-star level player, whereas I think Jeremiah Jackson has more the ceiling of like a competent starter for a not so good team. Mayo, if he plays up to his potential, can be an everyday player, an all-star type of player. Again, we're a far way away from that, but he's going to get April to figure it out. Again, the Orioles need to win games, so if he's struggling really bad after a week, 2 weeks, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Jeremiah Jackson steps in and kind of takes over the job until Westberg's ready, or Blaze Alexander steps in, something like that to figure it out. And then once Holiday's back, once Westberg's back, it could be like Westberg plays second, Holliday plays third, or something to like to take care of the elbow of Westberg. I'm not sure. But it's interesting, and I'm excited for Kobe Mayo. He is definitely like an X factor on this team. I don't know if I would put him, above somebody like a Kyle Bradish, who, if Bradish is really, really good and is a Cy Young contender, like we've seen him be really for 3 years, just, obviously didn't play a lot last year, the year before because of the Tommy John, but was a Cy Young contender in 23. And every time he's played since then, even with the injury, has looked really, really good. I'd probably put Kyle Bradish as like the X factor on the team, but Kobe Mayo, I think, is right after him because if he can perform, he can put numbers together and makes the team not miss Jordan Westberg so much. Again, doesn't have to be an all-star, doesn't have to be Westberg's level, but I would be excited about that. And I think he has the potential to do that, has the experience to figure it out. At this point, he's been in the bigs for a bit now, has some experience to rely on. Um, I think it could be a big year for Kobe Mayo, so I'm excited for him. The numbers on Kobe Mayo, they expect him to play 175 plate appearances at third base, bat 233 with a 309 on base and a 431 slug. So that slug is above Jeremiah Jackson, below Jordan Westberg, which, feels about right, but I think he could get more than those 175 plate appearances. They have Jeremiah Jackson get 161 plate appearances. I have something tells me Kobe Mayo is going to get more than that number of plate appearances at third base, but it could all go wrong in April, and I have egg on my face, but that is my expectation. And then finally moving to shortstop, which is the most straightforward position the Orioles have on their entire roster. It is Gunnar Henderson or bust, which I think is a little bit interesting because they don't have an obvious shortstop alternative on the roster right now. Jackson Holliday can be that guy. He was a shortstop in the minors, was drafted as a shortstop, can play the position. So it's an option, but he's not going to be there to start the year. So that's Gunnar Henderson playing every day. Blaze Alexander can do it a little bit. Luis Vasquez, I believe he just broke his hand in one of the last preseason games, so he's not going to be around for a bit. So it's really Gunnar Henderson, and then if they want to give him a day here or there, Blaze Alexander. But Blaze Alexander, not really pitched as a shortstop solution. So there's concerns to be there. But to start the year, they have off days baked in. Gunnar Henderson's a young guy. He's not over 30 and been doing this for a long time. He should be okay. I think I would love to see a more obvious shortstop backup for him just to give him a day here and there because we've seen this before with players. It's just not the Cal Ripken era anymore of playing every single day and just who cares what happens to your body and just go for broke every single day. You need to give these guys a day here or there. Not saying every week, not even saying every 2 weeks, but an off day here, plus you get a day on off your legs, another day. Give these guys 3 to 4 days off a year or a month. I think keeps them a lot fresher than the alternative, which is to burn them out and then come August, come September, they're dragging a little bit. So would love to see that. That said, this team is going to go as far as Gunnar Henderson and I'd say Rogers and Bradish and maybe Helsley at the back of the bullpen can take them. If those guys all live up to their potential, that is Gunnar being an MVP candidate, Bradish being a Cy Young candidate, I wouldn't say Rogers being as good as he was last year. I think ultimately Bradish is still the better pitcher between Bradish and Rogers, but I understand recency bias, all that type of stuff. Um, Rogers has been really good. I think if he can be, a 3.4 ERA type of guy, give you innings, um, that's great. Bradish be Cy Young, and then Helsley to refine his form from the St. Louis days, which he looked really, really good in that game against the Nationals this past weekend. So I feel pretty confident there. I think this team's going to be really, really good, but it all starts with Gunnar. Gunnar needs to be awesome. He needs to be an MVP candidate. Fangraphs projects the Orioles to have the second best shortstop situation in the big leagues. Number one is, of course, Bobby Witt Jr. and the Kansas City Royals, which I can understand. Gunnar had trouble getting into games with Team USA because Bobby Witt was there. Also because Mark DeRosa was stubborn about Alex Bregman playing third base a whole bunch. So that's neither here nor there. But Gunnar is inarguably one of the best shortstops, one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that he is in the MVP conversation all season, provided that he is healthy. They have him projected to hit 273 with a 354 on base and a 490 slug. Them as an elite base runner, which he is, a below average fielder, although I think, again, there could be some changes here. The skills are there, the physical traits are there for Gunnar Henderson to be a gold glove caliber type of player in the field, and I think he can get there. Obviously, the focus needs to be on his bat and his legs on the bases. That's where he's most valuable and most dangerous, but I don't think it's crazy to say this kid can figure it out and be like a triple threat bat, bases, glove, five tool, if you will. I think Gunnar Henderson has that in his bag. And I'm excited to see it because, and I've said this before on the podcast, to me, he is the best, most complete player that I as an Oriole fan, have ever watched day to day. He is better than Manny Machado ever was in terms of the entire game. Obviously, Manny was an elite fielder and a fantastic hitter. I think Gunnar can be an elite fielder. We'll see. He is a fantastic hitter and is awesome on the bases. That's where Manny really fell off. Manny was not a good base runner, has never been a good base runner, did some knucklehead stuff. Gunnar is he's a spark plug on the bases, which is not normally what you see from this big like 6'4" or whatever he is shortstop that can hit 30 home runs. Usually those guys aren't as exciting on the bases, but obviously Gunnar is, Shohei is. There's guys out there, and Gunnar is among that elite class. I understand Bobby Witt Jr.'s numbers, and I'm not going to discount that at all. But for me, as an Orioles fan, watching Gunnar Henderson is the most fun you can have at a baseball game right now. And it's a joy to watch him. So I think he's got a better supporting cast this year. The pitching is better. The team should be in more games. He can really take off this year. Not that he hasn't already, but get back to that 2024 form he had versus 2025. Dealt with the side issue, which he said impacted him all summer long. He can be talked about amongst the game's elite players again after just a one season blip. Um, so that's really the long and the short of the infield preview. There's not a whole lot else to talk about with the infield in terms of depth, because the depth is already on the roster. The depth is Blaze Alexander. The depth is Jeremiah Jackson. The depth is maybe Luis Vasquez as a shortstop alternative once his hand heals. But that's it. Because Westburg's hurt, because Holliday's hurt, we're seeing the depth already. If they can come back, that's a nice injection of talent back onto the roster, which is will be exciting. I'm excited about Gunnar Henderson. I'm moderately excited about Jackson Holliday. I think he can take a step forward. And then I'm excited that Kobe Mayo is going to get another legit lengthy tryout, if you will, at third base. He needs to pick things up with the glove a little bit, but the bat to me has looked different since September of last year. He was more patient this spring, and I think this could be a really, really big season for Kobe Mayo. So I'm excited to see that as well. Yeah, so that's it for the infield. Like I said, next episode we are going to talk about just previewing the entire team. We're going to give our predictions for the record, maybe awards, and just talk about what we're expecting from the team in 2026. I'm excited. I have not really talked in depth to Jesse or Eli about their specific expectations. I will do that kind of live on the pod tonight when I talk. So subscribe to the show if you're not, either on YouTube, on Spotify, on your preferred podcast app. Tell your friends about us if you want them to get involved and listen to more Orioles content. We try to churn it out pretty good. Once the season gets going, we're going to have at least 2 episodes a week, sometimes 3. So yeah, give us a subscription, free to do, and then give us a positive rating, a thumbs up on YouTube, 5 stars on the podcast app. Helps us reach more people, which is what we're trying to do here, is grow the audience, talk to more people about the Orioles. We don't really make any money doing this, so it's really just about the vibes. We are part of the Believe Podcast Network, which gives us just a tiny bit of money to do this, but really it's all about interacting with you guys and having fun doing this. So give us any feedback you've got. Try to keep it cordial, and we will take it into consideration. But yeah, that is all I've got. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Tyler, and this has been the Warehouse Podcast. See ya.